All right, let's dive in. This time we're taking on the perfect couple. Um, that show that's a whole mix of mystery and romance and family drama, all centered around this like extravagant Nantucket wedding that goes very, very wrong. And we've got tons to work with: character backgrounds, themes, plot twists, even how the director seems to be using the, visual elements.
Yeah, it really is fascinating how this show sets up this contrast from the very beginning.
Right.
You've got these picture-perfect images of Nantucket, the gorgeous beaches and these huge estates.
Right.
But there's this like immediate feeling of unease, this kind of hint of darkness just below the surface.
Yes. It's like they're using the beauty of the setting to like create this unsettling tension that draws you in.
Yeah.
So then we meet the Winbury family. They're the ones hosting this lavish wedding.
Right.
And they're portrayed as this like untouchable dynasty. But the show uses these visual cues like close-ups on Greer's, icy expressions to hint that their perfect image is about to shatter.
Absolutely. And Greer, played brilliantly by Nicole Kidman, she's this successful crime author who's used to controlling narratives.
Oh, yeah.
But now she's facing a real-life mystery that she can't manipulate so easily. It's sets up her character arc really well.
It's like her perfectly controlled world is being invaded by the chaos that she writes about.
Yeah.
And then there's Tag, her husband, played by Liev Schreiber. He's all charm on the surface, but with this past that makes you wonder.
Right.
You get the sense that he's a master of deception. It makes him suspicious from the start.
His charm does seem a bit too practiced, almost like it's a persona.
Totally.
And when you think about his history, the infidelity and those shady business dealings, well, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if he's hiding some secrets.
Oh, absolutely. So then you've got Benji, the groom, caught in the middle of this seemingly perfect couple.
Right.
He's genuinely in love with Amelia, the bride, but she's an outsider to this world of wealth and privilege. Almost like a threat to their carefully constructed image.
Yeah. And that clash between Amelia and the Winbury world is one of the most interesting parts of the show.
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
not just, personality differences. It's a clash of values, backgrounds, even their whole worldviews.
Yeah.
Amelia represents the Winburys aren't, she's independent, down to earth, and she challenges their often hypocritical ways.
Right. Like she's a mirror reflecting their insecurities and flaws right back at them.
Exactly.
But before we can really get into the family dynamics, boom, a body drops.
Oh, yeah.
Merritt, the maid of honor, is found dead, and suddenly everyone at this wedding is a suspect.
And the show uses Merritt's death so well to expose the cracks in the Winbury's facade.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's almost as if the murder is a magnifying glass, amplifying all the tension and bringing those hidden secrets to the surface.
Totally. And the show really digs into the darker side of wealth and privilege. We see how the Winburys have used their money and influence to protect their image, to cover up their indiscretions,
Yeah.
and maybe even to silence anyone who threatens their perfect world.
It's not stated directly, but there's this underlying message about how wealth can shield the elite from consequences that others might face.
Right.
And this theme is highlighted even more through the character of the detective, who seems, well, kind of out of place in this world of wealth and power.
It's like he's experiencing the Winbury world with this mix of like fascination and disbelief, right?
Right.
But beyond the murder mystery and this critique of wealth, the show also looks at family relationships, particularly the strained relationship between Greer and her children.
Yeah, the show does a fantastic job of weaving in flashbacks that give us glimpses into the Winbury family's past.
Right.
We see moments of tenderness, but also these simmering resentments and unspoken truths. And we see how Greer's controlling nature has shaped her children, especially Benji, who's torn between his love for Amelia and his loyalty to his family. It's like he's trapped,
Yeah.
in this gilded cage. Wants freedom, but he's held back by these unspoken family expectations and his mother's, let's just say manipulative tendencies.
And that makes him such an interesting character to watch. We see him struggling with his conscience, trying to balance his desire for a life with Amelia, whose everything his family isn't, with, that loyalty he feels towards them,
Yeah.
despite all their flaws.
And his relationship with Amelia is really at the core of the show.
Oh, for sure.
She's this breath of fresh air in this almost suffocating Winbury world.
Right.
But her presence is disruptive.
Mm.
She challenges their whole way of life, exposes the hypocrisy under their sophisticated veneer.
Right, like she's thrown a grenade into their perfect world and we get to watch the explosion.
Exactly.
And then there are the other players, each with their own secrets and motives.
Mm.
Like Merritt, the maid of honor, who, well, we find out her life wasn't so perfect after all. The show uses flashbacks to peel back the layers of her story,
Oh, yeah.
revealing vulnerabilities and this web of relationships that connect her to practically everyone at the wedding.
It's like those flashbacks are puzzle pieces,
Totally.
giving us glimpses into her past, her connections to the guests. We see her struggling to keep up with the Winburys' lifestyle, her loyalty to Amelia tested by the family, and even hints of a secret romance that, well, could have had some serious consequences.
Talk about upping the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
The show keeps us guessing, constantly shifting suspicion from one character to the next.
Yeah.
As we get each new piece of information, we wonder, was Merritt's death connected to the Winburys? A jealous lover? Or maybe some long-held grudge? It's hard to say.
It's a masterclass in suspense.
Yeah.
It blurs the lines between suspicion and sympathy. One minute you might feel bad for Greer,
Yeah.
caught in her own web of control. But then the next minute you're questioning her every move, wondering if she's capable of, silencing anyone who threatens her.
Exactly. And Tag, at first he seems like a pretty passive player in all of this, content to let Greer, run the show. But as we learn more, we see glimpses of his ruthlessness, his willingness to do whatever it takes to protect himself.
His charm becomes more and more unsettling as the show goes on.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a mask he uses to hide his true nature. You find yourself really analyzing his words, his actions. What's he really capable of?
The show is really good at blurring the lines between victim and perpetrator.
Absolutely.
Each character has these admirable qualities, but also deep flaws. It's like
Yeah.
you can't fully trust anyone.
It's very much like real life, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
People are complex, rarely all good or all bad. We all have secrets, vulnerabilities, moments of weakness. And the show really explores those gray areas of morality.
Absolutely. And all of this is happening against this stunning but isolated island backdrop. Nantucket, with its beauty and exclusivity, it becomes more than just a location. It's almost
Right.
like a character itself.
The director uses the setting so well to build the mood and emphasize the themes. The wide shots of the coast, the lavish interiors of the Winbury estate, it all creates this sense of isolation, of a world totally separate from, most people's reality.
Yeah, it's like the island is both a sanctuary and a prison for the Winburys,
Right.
surrounded by beauty and privilege, but also trapped by their secrets and the weight of their reputation.
You really feel that sense of claustrophobia throughout the show. Even with these beautiful landscapes, there's this tension, this feeling that they can't escape the consequences of their actions, no matter how hard they try.
And the performances are just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Nicole Kidman as Greer is mesmerizing. That chilling composure, but also this underlying desperation.
Right.
Liev Schreiber as Tag is just as good, his charm masking this simmering anger, this hint of danger.
And Eve Hewson, it's Amelia. She gives this nuanced and powerful performance. She shows both strength and vulnerability as she navigates this world that's so different from her own. You can really feel her trying to stay true to herself while also wanting acceptance from Benji and his family.
Their chemistry is amazing. You can't help but root for them to overcome everything that's in their way. But the show doesn't give easy answers. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, challenging your ideas about love, loyalty, and just how far people will go to protect their secrets.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
It's a show that demands your attention, engaging your mind and your emotions. It's that slow burn that builds suspense, weaving together all these different storylines and characters, and then explodes in a finale that's both satisfying and makes you think. It's interesting how the show kind of flips the typical whodunit thing on its head.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on, the detective trying to find the killer, the perfect couple, makes you pay attention to all the messed up relationships within the Winbury family.
Right. It's like the murder is what sets everything in motion. It forces them to deal with all their secrets and, the nasty side effects of their wealth and privilege.
Exactly. And the show doesn't hold back when it comes to exploring those themes, right? It peels back those layers of their seemingly perfect lives. We see the resentment, the betrayals, and how far they'll go to keep up appearances, no matter the cost.
It's like they've built their whole lives on a foundation of lies. And Merritt's murder is this huge shock that could destroy everything.
Yeah, and the flashbacks, right? Those are so well done. They're like little glimpses into the past that suddenly make everything in the present make sense.
Yeah, they really illuminate things. Like, we see how Greer's need for control has messed up her kids, how Tag's ambition made him compromise his, morals, and how even Merritt, the victim, had her own secrets and desires that tangled her up in all this deception.
The flashbacks are like little time bombs, right?
Yeah.
Like they explode at just the right moment and make you completely rethink everything you thought you knew about the characters. Each new thing we learn just makes the mystery more complex, and you can't trust anyone.
It's really well written. Even though we see these, not so great things about the characters, we're still drawn to them. You get fascinated by their flaws and the choices they make.
It's like there's this guilty pleasure in watching this seemingly perfect family fall apart.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the masks we all wear, the secrets we keep, and how far we might go to protect the image we've created for ourselves.
The show makes you think about the price of keeping up those appearances, the moral compromises we might make to get wealth or status, or even just to fit in. It's a warning, but it's also a very human story.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into the perfect couple, we have one last question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Imagine you're a guest at that wedding, watching all this crazy stuff happen right in front of you. Who would you suspect and why?
Think about what we've talked about, their motives, their secrets, how good they are at lying.
Right.
Who benefits the most from Merritt's death? Whose secrets were the most at risk because of her?
And remember, in this world of wealth and privilege, nobody's completely innocent. Everyone has something to hide. And the truth, much like the perfect couple, is often just an illusion.
We hope this deep dive gave you some new ways to think about the perfect couple,
Yeah.
and maybe even made you question the image you project to the world. Thanks for listening.